pressures of globalization, movement of labor and capital and technology are having phenomenal impacts on the workforce. And there's no question that our future depends on an educated workforce. If you look at most of the economic literature, the populations that are struggling in the Western world, in the developed economies, are the populations that are not adequately educated. And good, solid education is directly linked to economic growth. And this is something that makes no sense to me from a provincial government standpoint. I think that the provincial government for a very long time has treated education as, in a sense, as an afterthought, and has not seen the education of our young people as part of how we're going to drive the economic growth that we need to develop the taxpayers who are going to pay for the health care that we are all going to need very soon.
So clearly a lot of challenges in figuring out both the problems and now the solutions. I mean, do you have any ideas as to how we can begin to address these inequities and address the issue from a political standpoint as well? I mean, we want to energize the parents of students and the broader public in making positive change.
And build morale in the teaching profession and in the education system generally. I do, you know, I watched very closely the passage of the litigation through the trial and appellate levels, and I wrote about this. I was actually really struck, and if I may say to the BCTF and to advocates for education, sharpen your elbows and get into the public realm, but I think there's a much better case that can be made. I think it's so easy when you're demoralized and you're feeling under attack, and there is no question that the attack was brutal and it was unfair. It was, in my view, unconscionable the way that the government treated the Teachers Federation and the education system generally. But I really feel like this is a communications issue and that there was so much better case that could have been made. That trial decision was a phenomenal decision. I don't know how many people in this room have read it. It was shocking to me as a citizen to read as I'll repeat, the unconscionable conduct of the provincial government negotiators as they went through that process. I think that a lot more could have been made about that, but also, you know, every person in this room, probably anybody that you could talk to, could stand up and make a commercial about a teacher that changed their life, about what a teacher has done for them. I would have loved to have seen through all of this an advertising campaign about how great teachers are, how important they are. There isn't a single person who's been a success or even medium in this society that can't say, I can point to teachers, I can name the teachers that changed my children's lives. I want to see ads about that. The public needs to see those instead of the relentless, greedy, and it's very hard when you're on the receiving end of this, I think, to kind of get that positioning. But I would strongly encourage advocates for public education to get that message out in a big way.
And I know that's something we've talked about in the Institute for Public Education. How do we help schools tell their story? How do we help teachers tell their stories? How do we help communities tell their stories? Because those stories are where the powerful messages that the public can pick up on really rest.
Strikes are really expensive. Advertising campaigns relative to strikes, I don't know, I'm just saying.
And I hear David chuckling over my shoulder, so that says to me that it's time for questions from the audience. So thank you very much for your comments, and we'll turn it over to you.